Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake of RobertoBlake.com, helping you create something awesome today. Today I want to talk about entrepreneurship. As somebody who's a creative entrepreneur running an online business, and I've been doing this for a while now, there are a lot of things that I think don't get said for people who want to become entrepreneurs and want to get started. I think that there's a lot of cheerleading around entrepreneurship, and that's fine. I know that positivity and a great mindset makes a huge difference. It definitely has for my business. But there are some realities of entrepreneurship that need to be addressed. And I think one of them, one of the harshest ones, is the fact that not everybody has it in them to be an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur has been wonderful for me. It has given me financial freedom. It has helped me address issues with my anxiety and depression, but it's also, in many cases, been a trigger for my anxiety and depression. And that's something that's not nearly talked about enough in the entrepreneurship space. It's really that entrepreneurship has been glorified and often misrepresented, especially in the media. Entrepreneurship is a commitment. It's not for people who don't feel that they have self-discipline. You have to establish self-discipline and be capable of honoring your word and honoring commitments, or you're not going to be a good entrepreneur. You can't just wake up one day and decide, you know what, that's it. I'm going to quit my job. I want to be an entrepreneur. You have to be smart. You have to be a practical person. You have to be someone who's capable of being decisive and someone who's also willing to learn from others. Entrepreneurship has a constant learning curve to it. You can't just settle in and say, hey, I've made it. There's no such thing as making it in entrepreneurship. And a lot of people don't understand that it's a constant battle. It's a constant fight to grow, to succeed, to learn, to remain relevant, and to completely deliver value. And that in a lot of cases, especially if you're going into a saturated market, you have to constantly think about how to evolve and how to differentiate yourself and how to present. Entrepreneurship is also lonely as hell sometimes. You really, when you're first getting started, you can't expect to have the support of everybody. A lot of people will have good intentions towards you, but they'll try and talk you out of entrepreneurship because they don't want you to work yourself to death. They are afraid that maybe you'll put your heart and soul into this and it won't be successful or it won't move fast enough to support you. And those are reasonable concerns and fears. That's why a lot of entrepreneurs have so much angst, because they have a chip on their shoulder because they remember what it's like in many cases to come from nothing, and there's constantly the fear of things not working out and going back to nothing. But also there's the fears that are projected onto you by friends and family and former colleagues that you just won't make it, because the failure rate for entrepreneurship is ridiculously high. There's some of you who thinks, well, wow, that's discouraging. Thanks, Roberto, for killing my dreams. But I mean, it's not really about that. It's about giving you the practical, real world advice in terms of this is what you're signing up for. And again, I think that without a certain level of mental toughness, without a certain amount of practical positivity as a foundation that drives you, that wakes you up every day, if you're someone who constantly needs praise, if you're someone who needs external validation, entrepreneurship will be very difficult for you. If you're somebody who isn't an autodidactic learner, somebody who is a self-educated person that can learn on their own, entrepreneurship will be very difficult for you. If you right now are struggling, you're destitute, you're in dire financial straits, entrepreneurship may seem like an exit strategy for you or a way to solve that problem. And for some people that's been true, but a lot of those people are anomalies. A lot of those people are exceptions to the rule. And typically, most entrepreneurs fail their first few ventures. I'm 33 years old as of making this video. There were times in my early 20s, hell, in my early teens, that I tried to go the path full-time as an entrepreneur and it didn't work out, or it wasn't always sustainable. And a lot of it came down to the fact that I didn't have the skills yet, and I also didn't have the knowledge and the education and the experience required to sustain entrepreneurship and see it all the way through. I also, because I didn't have strong enough skills yet, didn't have a high enough value proposition to be able to charge enough money to make entrepreneurship practical. If you want to become an entrepreneur, what I can tell you is this: you have to really make a priority in educating yourself and developing real skills. You also have to become knowledgeable about the business world. There are a lot of books that I can recommend. In fact, 100 books. I recommend this list that I have in the description down below called 100 Books That Built My Business. This bookshelf is not just for show. There is a reason. And I feel that by reading and learning that way, every situation, every time I faced adversity, I wasn't in it truly alone. I was armed with the knowledge of people who had come before me. I was armed with the knowledge of people with decades more experience than me who had already faced down those problems, and I wasn't flustered because I knew that there was a practical answer that had a high success rate behind it or had real science behind it, and I was able to execute on that without fear or without hesitation. And I don't feel that if I hadn't educated myself and if I hadn't learned from others that I could have done that. Now, not everyone is going to be able to learn from a book. Some people, it's better for you to learn from podcasts. I recommend the Smart Passive Income podcast by Pat Flynn. I recommend Entrepreneur on Fire with John Lee Dumas. Both of these podcasts have been instrumental in my growth, and I've met both John Lee Dumas and Pat Flynn, wonderful entrepreneurs, great human beings more than anything, and I think that you can learn a lot from them. Some people consume best by learning from video. I recommend watching Brian Tracy or Gary Vaynerchuk. These are two amazing entrepreneurs that I think you can learn quite a bit from if video content is something that you want to consume. One of my other favorite entrepreneurs on YouTube is Marie Forleo. Like, her content is phenomenal. I really think of her in many ways as the Oprah of YouTube. Aside from learning from other entrepreneurs, I think you need to learn some of the fundamentals of setting up a business. I also think that you need to understand more about personal finance. There are, again, plenty of books in my list that I recommend that could definitely help you with that. I also think that you need a plan. I think you need a vision for what you want to accomplish as an entrepreneur. Why are you doing this? Because the drive and the desire to make money, the drive and the desire to provide for your family, it's important, but it's not enough. It's not enough to sustain this very challenging, very difficult thing. And so I would say that you have to philosophically have something bigger than yourself that you're trying to accomplish. And you need to think about who you're trying to serve when you create a product or you create a service. It has to serve a specific group of people. You have to have a niche, but I also think you need to have a cause. You need to have a higher why. Simon Sinek has a great book called Start With Why. I think you should follow that advice. Finally, one of the last things I'm going to tell you is, and this one probably should also be its own video, is that I think that you need to understand how to prioritize as an entrepreneur if you want to be productive. I don't think that signing up for 12 and 18-hour days is for everybody, and I don't think everybody will get the most out of that. What I do think is that if you overwhelm yourself with a to-do list of 20 things, you're going to be exhausted. You should always pick 3 to 5 things, and you should only put 3 to 5 things in front of yourself at a given time. And then you shouldn't tackle the hardest thing first. There's a common knowledge kind of thing that everyone likes to just do the hardest thing first because then it's all downhill from there. And I don't agree with that at all. I think you do the easiest thing first. Get a win under your belt. Get something that makes you feel good and satisfied and accomplished, and you checked one box. That's gonna help you. And then you tackle the next thing, and then you're seeing progress. So do the easiest thing first and then level up from there and tackle the hardest thing last, because now you're tackling it with all these other things behind you. You're motivated, you're pumped up. It wasn't as hard and draining as you thought it would be, and you built yourself, you worked up to this. It's not unlike working out in the gym. You build yourself up. You don't go ahead and drain yourself and go all out the first go. I mean, that's just wildly impractical, and it's gonna be demotivating for you. And then one of the last things, I know I just said that was probably the last thing, but one of the last things I really wanna leave you with, because we talked about motivation, is the importance of motivation. There are a lot of people that cry out and scream about everybody with the motivational speakers and all of that jazz. Look, I grew up as the son of a Marine. I grew up in military towns. I can't tell you how valuable morale is in everything you do. If you don't have morale, if you don't have the confidence, if you don't have the motivation, if you don't have some sense of purpose that is driven by the desire and the sense that this is going to work out, this is going to be okay, this is going to be practical, this is going to have some net benefit. If you don't have motivation and you don't have optimism, then you have already lost. The thing that's going to defeat you. I actually asked Gary Vaynerchuk, a tremendous entrepreneur, about this. I asked him, what's the biggest barrier to success in business? I asked him whether it was a lack of time or a lack of capital, because these are the two big anxiety points that most people have around entrepreneurship. I don't have enough time. Oh, it costs money to make money. And you know what he told me? He told me that the thing and the reason that there are a lot of people they're going to lose, and that the biggest barrier to success is a lack of optimism. And he's 110% right. He usually is. Without positivity, without a good mindset, without optimism, every task that you're going to do is going to be harder. It's going to be more draining. It's going to be less effective, and it's going to be less efficient. But when you have positivity in your corner, when you have a great mindset in your corner, and when it's based in something real, then it's much more difficult to actually lose, and it's easier to approach everything with a sense of vigor, with a sense of purpose, and it's easier to go all in. It's easier to go on the offensive when you feel that. So I would encourage you to consume things that pump you up, that are uplifting, and stop listening to all the doom and gloom, and stop listening to all the negative headlines. And I would say focus on your work and focus on positive thinking, positive energy, and again, not based in some raw cheerleading fluff, but in reality. I think that that is probably one of the most helpful things that I could ever tell you about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is hard. It's not for everybody, but if you're willing to make a commitment, if you're willing to educate yourself, and if you're going to build a positive mindset, then you have an actual shot at success. And I would encourage you to take that shot as many times as you possibly can. Anyway, that's it for this video. Entrepreneurship has changed my life. It has made me happier and healthy and more free and in control of my life than I've ever felt at any other time. And I want that for more of you. So if that's something that you're into, I have a whole playlist for anyone who wants to build and grow their business, especially using online tools. And on this channel, I cover a lot of things that could help you, whether it's how to market yourself more effectively, how to handle your brand identity and visual branding in terms of design and print materials and digital materials, or whether it's tips on public speaking if you think that that could help grow your brand or help get you more access and build your network. So there's a lot of stuff like that on the channel. Maybe you should subscribe and check it out. Anyway, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other awesome content on the channel. As always, you guys, thanks so very much for watching. And don't forget, go out there and create something awesome today. Maybe even a business or two. Take care.